God, a truth so bright it became a weapon, it is a tomb. The final vision did not show the darkness as conqueror but a child bound in chains of light. God, a truth so bright it became a weapon. Show the darkness as witness saw the conqueror but a darkness was never the bound in chains of light invader. It was the captive, a prisoner of the witness own making. Its civilization fell not to the hive but to a revelation. Their war had no enemy only a victim. In that moment the witness chose to become the prison, to lock itself away, to let the darkness sleep. What truth could make a god a jailer? What vision could turn a war into a tragedy? The answer lies in Stake's hook. The witness didn't fall to the hive, it fell to a truth it could not unsee. The darkness is not a villain, but a Tula blade the witness forged to end what it became. The traveler's light, the winnower's hunger, the deep silence, not cosmic war but a single terrible choice, to cage the witness. To bury its vision, to let the darkness sleep. What if the light is not salvation but a tomb? What if every sword lifted is a chain? The witness saw the end of infinity and chose prison. Now the cosmos pays the price. The witness did not fall to the hive, it fell to a truth etched into the deep's ancient bones. The first children of the traveler, they answered the winnower's riddle not with light, but with the weight of what lies beneath. Their minds fused into a single eye, a single wound, staring into the void where the darkness was not born. What they saw was no god. It was a scream trapped in a shell, a will older than creation, gnawing against its own chains. The deep is not a force, it is a prison, and the darkness, a key that cannot turn. The witness chose annihilation to seal it deeper, forging its people into silence, yet the prison leaks. The final shape is not an end, it is a plea species' last breath, trying to drown the echo of that unbearable truth. What if the darkness is not the predator but the prey? But the witness' prey final vision was not of power, but of a cage with no bars, only the endless, aching shape of what was buried when the stars were young. And what if we are not its judges, we are the dust still trying to forget? The witness did not kneel to the hive, it kneeled to a truth etched in the marrow of the cosmos. The books of sorrow say the deep is a principle, not a place. A force that gnaws at the edges of being, worshipped by the worms as a god older than the darkness itself. Yet the hive chants hymns to the darkness, calling it sovereign. Here is the fracture. The witness saw what the hive cannot. The darkness is not a king. It is a cell in a body that does not sleep. The winnower's answeringly, that which cannot be killed is real, was not a riddle. It was an autopsy. The witness built its temples to the winnower's logic, carving equations into obsidian, trying to map the shape of immortality. But the equations bled. They bled because the darkness could not die, because it was never alive. The witness scholars watched their calculations unravel like threads pulled from a void, revealing the horror. The darkness is not a god. It is the scar left by something that is asterisk. The winnower's principle is not a law, it is a cage. The worms knew this. They bowed to the deep not out of fear, but grief. For the deep is the keeper of what cannot die, and the darkness, vast and writhing, is its most pitiful ward. The witness' final vision was not of conquest. It was of a prisoner, infinite and nameless, trapped in the act of existing. The hive's hymns are a lie. The darkness does not command, it begs. It claws at the walls of the winnower's prison, and the witness saw it weep in silence. What does it mean to be immortal if you cannot die? The witness could not unsee this. Its towers crumbled not from war, but from the weight of knowing. The winnower's answer was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be asterisk endured asterisk, and now, we who walk the dust of its ruins still whisper the wrong prayers. Still mistake the prisoner for the warden, still forget. The witness carved its path through the crucible not to destroy, but to follow. A single question burned in its mind, asterisk what does the traveler fear? Asterisk the collapse was not aware it was a chase. A civilization unraveling its own threads to catch a shadow that had outlasted stars. The winnower's answer was etched in ash. The darkness does not consume, it asterisk contains asterisk. The witness saw it then in the hollow heart of the void, a prison without bars, a wound without a blade. The traveler's light was not a gift, it was a seal, And the darkness was the key, a god, no. A whisper trapped in a mirror, the witness in its final act did not betray the light. It shattered the lie that the light was whole. The collapse was a requiem for a truth too vast to name. The darkness, that ancient prisoner, had never been the warden, only the forgotten. The traveler fled not from the hive, but from the witness gaze. What light could endure the weight of its own shadow? The witness paid the price. It became dust, and dust alone could cross the threshold. We still pray to the warden. Still curse the captive, still forget. The ruins hum a different hymn now, not of victory, of mourning. A civilization's last breath, asking, asterisk, what is freedom when the cage is love? Asterisk, the witness truth remains unspoken, but the dust remembers. And the dust is patient. The dust remembers. It remembers the witness' final gaze, a star collapsing inward, not in violence, but in understanding. What did it see? Not a god, not a tyrant, a husk. A shell of something older than the deep, suspended in the winnower's answer like a fly in amber. The darkness was not their master, it was their mistake. Stasis, the cold breath that freezes time, was not a weapon. It was a mirror. The strand weaving light and shadow was not a curse, it was a thread. The pyramid ships, looming and silent, were not armies, they were anchors, paracausal tools forged not to enslave but to contain. The witness had spent eons fighting a cage they did not build. Their hymns of defiance were prayers to a prisoner. The winnower's answer was not justice. It was a paradox. To trap a force beyond comprehension, you must become its caretaker. The darkness, vast and formless, was not reaching for the witness. It was reaching asterisk through asterisk them. A hand bound in its own chains, pulling at the bars. The witness saw this. Saw the pyramid ships not as invaders, but as coffins. Saw the strand unraveling not as corruption, but as a plea for release. And then fracture. Their civilization, built on the lie of divine captivity, could not hold. Temples crumbled. Hymns turned to silence. The witness, bound to the deep, chose the only truth left, to unmake their own myth. They did not fall. They asterisk let go asterisk. What remains? A prisoner in a cage of borrowed light. A witness whose final act was not war, but surrender. The darkness is no villain. It is no god. It is the winnower's shadow stretching across eternity. And the witness. They are the first to stand at the bars, and the first to wonder, asterisk, who built the cage we all call home, asterisk. The darkness does not choose its wielders, guardians bend it, hive devour it, yet the witness asterisk listens asterisk. What the light calls corruption, the witness calls a cry for help. A paracausal force unbound by morality, it is the winnower's answer, a blade without a hand. The witness did not see a god. It saw a prisoner. The contradiction festers. If the darkness is weapon, not villain, who holds the hilt, the answer bleeds into dread. The witness speaks for it, yes, but only because it has nowhere else to turn. Every strike, every hive birth, every guardian's triumph, they all chain it deeper. A force that cannot act without a host, a voice without a speaker. Is this justice, or the universe's cruel arithmetic? The witness ended its civilization not out of fear of the darkness, but horror at what it asterisk revealed asterisk. A truth, the darkness is not a master, it is a wound, and the witness, a caretaker of the unhealable. The cage was never the darkness making. The cage is the light's, and we are all still inside it. The witness saw the darkness not as a conqueror, but as a wound sealed too tight. Its final act was not war, but revelation, a truth etched in light against the winnower's cruel calculus. Only that which cannot die is real. The principle hung like a blade over the cosmos, and the witness, architect of stars, could not unhear it. The city of light burned not to repel the hive, but to contain a secret. The darkness was no god. It was a prisoner, its endless hunger a symptom of a cage too small to hold what it once was. The winnower had not slain it, it had asterisk failed asterisk to slay it. And in that failure the darkness became proof of the winnower's own unreality, a paradox the witness could not let live. The collapse followed. Not fire, not hive, but the weight of knowing. A civilization that built galaxies to answer the void, now crumbled under the weight of its own answer. The traveler, that last ember of their will, was never a savior. It was a monument, a key shaped to never turn, a promise to guard a wound that would never close. What is more tragic, to be the darkness, trapped in a body of hunger, or the witness, who starved its own people to keep a secret too bright to survive? The Winnower's answer echoes still. The cage is not the darkness making, it is the light's. And we who wear that light like skin are the prisoners now. The cosmos is a ledger of unkillable things, the darkness. The Winnower, the witness, silence, and us still counting, still caging, still alive. The witness did not die to the hive, it died to a truth that turned its light against itself. The darkness was never a god, it was a prisoner, bound by the witness' will. When the guardians struck in the pale heart, they shattered more than a body, they unlocked a cage. The Red War was not conquest, it was a requiem. Beyond light sought to heal a wound that was never a scar. The final shape, a monument to a choice never made. The traveler's wound, the awoken's birth, each a stitch in a tapestry of unmaking. The Golden Age began not with salvation, but with a wound the witness could not bear. What did it see? A future where its light devoured itself, a cycle of cage and key. The darkness writhing not with malice but with the hunger of the imprisoned. The hive did not corrupt the witness, they mirrored it. A civilization built on the lie that some things must be caged. The cosmos is a ledger of unkillable things. And we are still counting, still caging, still alive. What truth will we face when the darkness looks back? The witness' final act was not a revelation, but a warning. What if the deep's true nature is not a prison, for the darkness it is the winnower's ledger? The witness saw not a god, but a captive. Could the darkness be the first entry in that ledger? A prisoner of the very force it seeks to destroy. The fall wasn't to the hive. It was to a truth that unraveled a civilization. If the winnower counts all things, who counts the counter? What did the witness see that made it choose erasure? The comments hold the next clue. The witness' final act was not a revelation, but a warning. What if the deep's true nature is not a prison, for the darkness it is the winnower's ledger? The witness saw not a god, but a captive. Could the darkness be the first entry in that ledger? A prisoner of the very force it seeks to destroy. The fall wasn't to the hive. It was to a truth that unraveled a civilization. If the winnowers counts all things,